Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score is a groundbreaking exploration of trauma and its profound effects on the human mind and body, weaving together decades of clinical research, neuroscience, and patient stories into a narrative that is both scientific and deeply empathetic. Van der Kolk begins by tracing the rediscovery of trauma in the 1970s when Vietnam veterans returned home with symptoms that defied conventional psychiatric explanations. He demonstrates that trauma is not simply a psychological wound, but a whole body experience, reshaping the brain's fear and memory centers, disrupting hormonal regulation, and manifesting in physical symptoms long after the event has passed. The book emphasizes that trauma is stored in the body, often resurfacing in flashbacks, anxiety, or chronic illness, even when the conscious mind tries to suppress it. Van der Kolk explains how trauma rewires the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex, leaving survivors trapped in cycles of hypervigilance, dissociation, or emotional dysregulation. He critiques traditional talk therapy, arguing that while it helps survivors articulate their pain, it often fails to address the physiological imprint of trauma. Instead, he introduces alternative therapies such as EMDR, yoga, mindfulness, neurofeedback, and creative movement, all designed to reconnect survivors with their bodies and restore a sense of safety. Through vivid patient stories, he illustrates how survivors of war, abuse, and neglect struggle with fragmented memories, self-destructive behaviors, and feelings of disconnection, yet also how they can reclaim agency through embodied practices. The book emphasizes the importance of safe relationships and supportive communities, showing that healing requires more than medical interventions. It demands environments where survivors feel empowered and understood. Childhood trauma receives particular attention as van der Kolk explains how early abuse or neglect can shape lifelong patterns of fear, mistrust, and illness, and how compassionate interventions can break these cycles. His writing blends science with empathy, making complex neuroscience accessible while honoring survivors' resilience. While some therapies discussed have varying levels of scientific validation, the book's central message that trauma must be healed through the integration of body and mind has transformed modern approaches to mental health. Ultimately, The Body Keeps the Score reframes trauma not as weakness, but as a universal human experience, offering hope and practical pathways to recovery. It is both a guide for clinicians and a source of comfort for survivors, reminding readers that healing is possible when the body and mind are treated together. Van der Kolk's work has become a cornerstone in trauma studies, widely cited in psychology, psychiatry, and even education, as it underscores the importance of understanding how trauma affects learning, relationships, and overall well-being. The book's accessibility makes it valuable not only for professionals, but also for survivors seeking to understand their own experiences. By combining scientific rigor with compassion, van der Kolk bridges the gap between clinical research and everyday life, showing that trauma is not an isolated phenomenon, but a pervasive force that shapes individuals and societies. His call for holistic, embodied healing resonates across disciplines, inspiring new approaches to therapy and self-care. In the end, The Body Keeps the Score is more than a book about trauma. It is a manifesto for healing, resilience, and the reclamation of life after suffering.